What's up, everyone? We are back and into it. Keen to get back onto these charts. Had a good Thailand, good break from the charts, but yeah, that was long enough for me. I'm keen to get back onto it. So, looking at GU, doing a little bit of a top down. So, look, right now, obviously, we are externally inside of that bigger leg, inside of that leg, but internally, we're inside of this leg. So, obviously, right now, looking to make that retracement deeper inside of these bearish legs that we've got here. Now, positioning right now on the 15 minutes. So looking at us externally inside of this leg of structure here, we've had that pretty deep retracement, very deep retracement into a mitigation of a supply to demand area that obviously has taken liquidity and did more or less lead to the break of that point. So a decisional point, our extreme still hasn't been mitigated, so we very well can come down there, but we are mitigating a strong decisional point of that. Since mitigating that, we've had an internal break, sweep of all this liquidity. We have also swept that liquidity there, had that complete retracement again into this demand. But since we broke this high and swept all that liquidity, obviously we've just been sideways, as you guys know, and as you have been trading. For how long has it been in that? Yeah, a minute. It's been in that for a little while now. So yeah, look, it's in a bit of an interesting spot as is. The way that I'm viewing the market at the minute is obviously this point here, or this demand more or less, is the demand that's failing to break this high. And obviously, this demand as well is doing the same thing as we're still sitting inside of that 5 minute leg, which is just shocking. So, GU's got the worst structure out of the three pairs, in my opinion. I don't actually mind the idea of sells, even though we're bullish here, we're bullish here, we're failing to break at the minute. So in my opinion, it's more so the market's telling us that it's not ready to buy yet, and it very well may sell. However, on the 5 minute side of things, we have taken Asia high, broken low. We have induced that 50% of Asia. So we've more or less got a medium inducement there, and we're starting to work our way back up a little bit. So I do see this point that we're in more or less as a smart money point, not expecting that to hold. However, if we understand that the range that we're in here is also not looking like it's going to hold, and we've got inducements high, break low, good decisional point that's induced high, demand to supply that did break this low. We've been having bearish order flow for a little bit now, and we have mitigated a reasonable point. So it might actually sell from where it is. I don't want to sell exactly where it is right now. I won't be looking to utilize this supply as I don't like this as a break. I'm also see it as an inducement, and obviously the fact that we've only taken Asia high. But what I'm open to is if we can push up here, induce this point, which obviously is a demand to supply area. I'm happy to use that, and we'll use that as a medium inducement. And I'm quite happy to sell down to at least target some of these lows down here that we've got as our next medium inducement to the downside, or even just the inducement of this whole entire area, as at this stage it's not looking like it's going to hold. Um, for me, buyers, I don't really like the idea of, just because I don't have a lot of conviction that we're going to be looking to buy at the minute, just with what the range is doing. I'd rather actually sell it, as it's, yeah, more so looking like the range is going to fail. Moving over to EU, the internet wants to work. Sweet. All right. EU, I really like the idea of sells. I wanted to buy it just before, and there was actually an entry that was really aggressive. I was just too late to be on for it. But I like the idea of a sell. So obviously right now that buy would be absolutely running, but that's okay. Um, Looking at it from a higher time frame perspective, obviously, we're inside of that much bigger leg there, and we're mitigating this decisional point, which is more or less actually the decisional of that big sweep that we had there and that external break that we've got just there. So we're in a really, really good spot. Obviously, we are like more or less at the extreme. We haven't quite mitigated it yet. At the extreme of that leg though. So, we are starting to get some conflicting time frames, but I do think we still can come down further, as we've got some obviously imbalance left to fill down here. Looking to follow with this range that we've got, mitigating that decisional and starting to work our way down. I like the idea of sells. Now, we have come into this demand area here, which has taken a little bit of liquidity and did obviously lead to a break of structure. Goes against the structure cycle, but it is a valid demand in itself. So it just depends on how much liquidity this demand wants to bring in, if it is going to be a smart money trap. There's two different ways that I'm viewing this. Is one, we've got a two leg out of it. So now that we've got that two leg and a build up of liquidity here, build up of liquidity here, into the mitigation of a supply that broke a 15-minute low and took liquidity. This two leg maybe enough of an inducement of buyers out of this area to now be able to sell back down through it. The other side of this is if we push through here, get that really nice breaker structure. This point's brought in heaps of buyers. I'm now happy to sell as well. So I'm happy to sell really anywhere from now that we're inside this point up until, until we get too high up here. We've obviously got this point there, which is a retest of that. So again, we can sell off that. It's just going to depend on what it looks like. Do we step up like this? Or do we just continue doing that? If that's the case, if we continue just pushing straight up, I won't be as interested in trying to sell it. But yeah, I'm open to selling it right now as it is. It's pretty aggressive, so it's not the most ideal in that sense. But we did have obviously sweep of Asia high, break to the downside. There was an entry inside of here, really, really small stop loss. So I may not have taken it anyway, even if I was on. I was actually doing my analysis for GU at the time. So that's okay, but it's really small stop loss. It was like 2.6 pips. So I may not have even taken it. But we have got that medium inducement into mitigation now. So look, I'm happy to work with where it is. We don't even have any 1 minute structure. We're in a bit of an awkward spot to do anything with. So I'll keep an eye on it, but I'm happy to sell where it is. I would prefer it to just generate a bit more structure though, potentially coming to that 15-minute point that we've got just there. I may even just set an alert on that, to be honest, and take it from there. I was interested before it pushed up from here if it was potentially going to come down and induce this supply to demand. I was open to that for buyers, but now that we have completed this internal structure cycle, I'm not interested in buyers. As much. I'll be open to them from here as we're inducing a valid demand, and especially if we can get that first like break to the downside, I'm happy to work with that. As this point may still drive us up to sweep that, and this point may end up in a smart money trap, but I'm happy to also lean on the fact of this being a valid supply, given what we've done with the rest of the range. So we'll see what it wants to do. Yeah, fuck. Damn it. That's just going to melt, I think. I'm going to play around with some alerts here. I'm going to see if we can get some internal price action here. Something I can work with. We're like inside that area now. Yeah, okay. I will be keeping an eye on that. Um, cool. All right. While that's doing its thing, let's have a look at AU. Sweet. All right. AU inside of that leg, we've had that complete retracement, push to the downside, mitigating this point, goes against the structure cycle. We've now pushed back up, swept that point there, which is a really good liquidity point, and now starting to work our way back down. So makes sense across the board for sells. The only part of it that doesn't make sense for sells is the fact that we are inside of that bullish leg. We've had a very deep retracement, but we're still yet to mitigate, same as EU, this area down here. So still looking to sell down to that, following with that external 15-minute and hourly range that we've got inside of this here. Cool. All right. Now, a couple of points to this. So yes, not expecting this to hold, but it has obviously caused this pretty decent run just here. We've swept these liquidity points, respecting this low and started to push our way back up. So I like the idea of buys and sells. So I've got two different outlooks that I want to look at here for AU, depending on what happens first. So obviously we've got a 15-minute break, inducement of liquidity, 15-minute break. Again, excuse my miss on the drawings there. Cool. Inducement. Sweet. All right. Valid demand, supply, demand that's taken liquidity. So we've medium induced into mitigation of a valid point, and we're starting to get a little bit of a push to the upside. So since taking this low, obviously, yes, that puts us inside of this leg, which lines up with our more so high time frame outlook of wanting sells. We haven't yet taken anything to outweigh this to validate us for sells just yet. We've got obviously this point here, demand to supply area that I'm not expecting to hold. I want it to get pushed through, but I'm happy to actually buy through it if we can get the right setup. Following off the back of that medium inducement, and we do have still liquidity to target. The only issue is we've only taken 50% of Asia, which hasn't got any liquidity with it. I'm also treating this as my medium inducement point. This technically somewhat is, but not treating it as much. I'm also looking at this as my medium inducement point as it's past that 50% of Asia in the opposing direction to where we're coming from, if that makes sense. So we've consumed a point beyond that. Cool. 5 minute break, retest. So what I'm looking for coming into the session following off the back of this is if we can induce to the downside here, sweep that point, take that liquidity, I'm then happy to buy from here. Whether that's buying directly down here, following off the back of like one inducement, two inducement, or whether I get something like break, smart money, break, entry down inside here, go. I don't mind either. I'm happy to work with. So that's what I'm open to for buys. For sells, I'm actually just open to sells straight off the take of that. I'll just work with like maybe this as a smart money point, see what we can get, and then go from there. So see what that wants to do. If we do drive up further from here, obviously we've got a really nice medium inducement at that high. We just need to yeah, obviously get there first. So I'm open to buying to it or yeah, selling from it. Expecting this point, even though it's a good point, I'm not expecting it to hold given the rest of the context. So if we can take this, I'll be looking to sell down to really kind of long-term target that. I may partial out and whatnot along the way, see what it looks like. But yeah, if we do get it set up there. So we'll see what that wants to do. But yeah, right now as it stands, GU's looking the worst. I really don't like what GU's doing at all. EU looks to be the best of the few there. We've pushed through that point. So we've had an internal breakdown now. So yeah, we'll see what this wants to do. But yeah, looking good for today. I will just have a quick look at news actually as well while we're at it. Haven't even looked at news myself yet. So what do we got? Ugh, we're Wednesday already. Geez. Nah, orange folder. Nothing substantial. That's only minutes for FOMCs. That's sweet. Anything on? Yeah, okay. Oh, that's October 30. Shows how long it's been since I've been on Forex Factory. Wow. Cool. Nothing. Just orange folder. So we're good on that sense. So we'll yeah, we'll see what this wants to do and we'll take it from there.